Viewers, now from our top news this morning, of course, we mentioned what's been going on at the Black Rock facility and some disagreements or some controversy regarding the MP for Tobago West. Of course, that's Ms. Champa Lewis in regards to use of the facility. Now, to clarify what's really going on, what's really happening in terms of the management of the facility, I am going to be speaking this morning with the Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Pastor Terance Baynes. And he's joining us online. Of course, he's out there in the U.S. at this point in time. So good morning and welcome to you, Pastor Baynes. How are you doing?
Good morning, Kandace. And I am cold, but good. Thank God. And
Certainly. And of
good
course,
morning. Good morning to all our viewers and listeners.
thank you. And no, you are out there. First of all, you're out there on the invitation of Minister Foster Cummins, the Minister of Youth, for something at the UN.
Yes. Minister Cummins, who is the Minister for Youth and National Service, extended an invitation to us to join him and his team for the ECOSOC conference. It is a youth conference pretty much that discusses a myriad of youth-related issues as to how youth can be much more involved and engaged in the governance and the betterment of the world as a matter of fact. And so this is our second year. This is the second invitation that we have received, and we took advantage of it, and it has been a successful meeting. And at some point, I will come to the station and we'll ventilate that extensively.
Certainly. Now, I mean, and interestingly enough, while you're there working with the Minister of Youth, Minister Cummings, we're having an issue here in Tobago regarding our MP for Tobago West, Champa Lewis, and of course this has to do with the use of the Black Rock facility. Now, we gathered from you and some of the information that you previously shared that this issue is not just an issue that's rooted in that little letter that we saw from the administrator about the use of the facility. It goes a little further back. So I want to take it back first of all as to what did you meet as the secretary when you entered into office in terms of the management of these facilities and the role of the village council in them?
Let me just if I could just take a minute and just go back in your news clip earlier. I don't know, it was saying that the minister was saying that we are interfering with the plans of the ministry. No, the laws according to the THA Act, youth, sport and community development falls under the purview of the THA in Tobago. That must be made abundantly clear, which includes all the facilities that are run by the division. So the Ministry of Sport and Community Development cannot say that we are interfering. That is a contradiction. So that's one thing aside. Now, as per a administrative committee minute number 96 dated October 7, 1996, there was a justification for what is now called, or what was called at the time, the Black Rock Regional Complex. And it was operated by an appointed board. The tenure of the board subsequently expired in October 18, 1998 and was never renewed. Let me say that again. The tenure of the board expired in October 18, 1990, and it was never reviewed. Since the expiration of the board, an interim management committee was put in place to manage the day-to-day affairs and operations of the center through the village council, funded by the Division of Community Development and Sport. Well, formerly the Community Development and Culture, and even it included Enterprise and Development and Labor. The Executive Council, by minute number 191 in February 27, 2013, approved the payment of recurrent expenditure inclusive of salaries and so on, with effect from October 2012, and this until the constitution of the new board of management. So um, when I came into office, we met a particular regime in place where the previous administration was empowering the village council to run the affairs of the center and so on. The then administrator indicated to me, because we were receiving invoices coming from the then president of the village council, Mr. Larry Paul. Invoices were coming to the division to the tune of some $80,000 according to the information per quarter. So what that seems to suggest, that during that time, that leading up to that point, that Mr. Paul and the whoever else was in that management system were receiving some $320,000 per year as it relates to the center. The administrator explained to me that there was no way of verifying the claims that were made by the invoices that were being presented. And he had a difficulty with it. And what was happening is that those invoices at that time were not even addressed to the administrator, they were addressed to the secretary, to the then secretary. Right? So with that information, I called on Mr. Paul. We called him to a meeting and said, listen, we want to be able to regularize this matter. Bring to us a comprehensive report of the operations of the center and so on, so that these receipts that you are bringing, the payments that you are requiring of the division, can be justified. Mr. Paul subsequently brought what I can only interpret to be a proposal. And so I suggested to him that that was not what we were requiring. A few weeks later, he brought another document with some numbers on it. It was unaudited. It did not even have a signature on it. And I felt it was an insult to what we were talking about. And there's been an impasse since that. I think what we did last year is that we came to a place where we said, because we were told that some 2 or 3 workers were there at the center and so on, and we decided as a division that we're going to try and bring this thing to a close. We aggregated what the officers were owed as per the former agreement, and we paid off the officers and so on, and paid up all the requisite bills and so on. And an instruction was given for the keys to be retrieved at that time, because we were, as you can appreciate, we are now in a new move trying to regularize the operation of all these facilities and the management and so on. And to that end, we were going to put an interim measure in place to take care of that, because we're moving in this direction.
So at this point in time, who is in management? How does the management of the facility work?
Well, I have been very measured with information in the past regarding this matter, right? What should have happened is the instruction should have been carried out, and there would have been one of the coordinators that would have been given the responsibility to oversee the operations until we regularize the new policy and the village councils are constituted and so on, and they will then, have the right to manage the facilities and so on. It must be noted that the Black Rock Village Council is defunct. They have not been constituted, notwithstanding the agreement, and the decision is that the management, there will be some, we are working, we've been doing some town hall meetings, some consultations to inform a new policy that we want to implement to regularize the usage of all the facilities across the island. The Black Rock situation was an anomaly. Of course, there's an anomaly there because of how it started and the challenges that we were facing, as I mentioned earlier. So we wanted to try and regularize that, hence the action. specifically as it relates to what has happened with the minister and so on, the point must be made that Mr. Paul and whoever else works with him were not really authorized to engage in any activity as it relates to renting of the facility and so on, right? Because that facility is one of the centers that is used for the execution of the vocational skills training program, which started in the beginning of April and so on. And so I was advised that that Mr. Paul went ahead and granted the whichever group it was to have vocational skills classes at the center, the very same classes in large part that the division was offering, and also displacing the division. And additionally, I was told that they were even enlisting the support or the work of some of the very tutors that we were utilizing in our program. And the thing about it is, we were not high-handed. We called Mr. Paul to a meeting, and he was there, the administrator and some others. I was not at that meeting, and there was no need for me to be there. And it was reported to me that it was explained to Mr. Paul that this decision has to be rescinded. Mr. Paul, according to the report, agreed to find another place for the work of the ministry. I was advised that even after that agreement, that the classes were still going ahead, and therefore I said, this just cannot happen. And the nuances of the minister to suggest that she has a right to unilaterally use any facility in the Tobago space without a collaboration is error. It is error. It is arrogant, as a matter of fact, right? And so what should happen as far as we understand it, there are ministries in Trinidad and there are divisions in Tobago that may be doing similar work. What should happen is a collaboration on those things. That is what should happen according to the rules.
Now,
A plan.
Baines,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to just pause there for a second because we gotta go for a break. But I really want to get more into this when we come back after the break, because of course this is where a lot of the controversy is
Sure.
about not allowing the ministry and so on. So we're gonna get more clarification when we come back after the break. Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversation this morning with the Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport as we sort of try to bring some clarification to what's been going on with the controversy surrounding the use of the multipurpose facility out there in Black Rock. That has, of course, attracted some criticisms from MP for Tobago West, Champaka Joe Lewis, in terms of its use and so on, and the authorization of use. Now, before we went to the break, Pastor Baynes went through with us what's been happening in terms of regularizing how the facilities, not just the Black Rock facilities, but all community facilities throughout Tobago are going to be managed under the division. Of course, that's a process that's still in the works, and how it should be working with the village council and so on. Right. But another thing that we were getting into is the fact that the Ministry of Community Development is offering certain courses, certain vocational courses throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and, of course, Tobago. And the facility was going to be used to have some of these courses. But Pastor Baynes was also explaining to us that it seems as though that these classes are the same that are currently being offered by the Division of Community Development. And now, Pastor Baynes, have you ever been approached by the ministry regarding these classes to see if there was a way to have some collaboration?
Never. And you see, the point is, Kandace, is why I keep making the point that this should be a matter for collaboration. Is that had the ministry done that, we would have been able to sit down and say, well, okay, you offering this, you offering this is what we offer, and how can we collaborate to make sure that the people benefit from the thing. We wouldn't have any clashes. But what I'm saying, this is an attitude by some of the ministers to not even have any regard for what is happening in Tobago. You understand? And it comes out in the narrative, you see? And as far as I understand it, that when it comes to matters that fall under the purview of the various secretaries in Tobago, our counterparts in Trinidad, they have a particular program that they are offering. There should be a collaboration on that so that these matters will not occur. But because of the choice by some to come as if they own Tobago, to have no regard for the political setup in Tobago and so on, and to selectively do it, because we know that there was another time when the same minister for Tobago West was one of those that was raising hell under the PP government about the same type of situation, these same approaches. So we are saying that, listen, there is a government in Tobago. There are officials in Tobago with particular responsibilities. We are not in trying to set up and engage in any war. All we are saying that there must be respect as it relates to how we are treated with these matters, and so that the people can benefit. That is all we are saying.
Now, there are some that are saying that the THA should give way to some of the classes being offered at the ministry because those classes seem to have some accreditation attached to it. What do you say to something like this?
That is a point of view that people have, and that point of view is rooted in ignorance of what the real issue is. You understand? And I don't accept that at all. I do not accept that.
Now, if the minister decides to come to you now, even after all of this has happened, and say, hey, look, let's see how we can collaborate, or let's see how we can still find a way to work together, will you be willing to work with her?
I am a public official, Kandace, and my concern is that the rules of engagement be in accordance with what the law affords. And if the rules of engagement by the minister and others who think and operate like her change, I am sure that there is place for conversation, and there is place. And I will even make the point. We are out here on an invitation by the Minister of Youth and National Service, Minister Cummins. We have a very respectful and amicable relationship. We are working on projects in Tobago. We are working in collaboration for optimizing of the CCC offerings. We are working on expanding the footprint of My Part and My Lat and some of these other programs that can assist us in Tobago. And that is how the thing is supposed to work. That is how it is supposed to work.
Now,
so I don't understand.
Sorry. Is this the first time you've had an issue of this nature with the MP for Tobago West?
No, it is not the first time. Like I said, I have been very measured in the past. I've been very measured. And remember that Mr. Clark is the one who has direct responsibility for youth and sport. And I know that in the startup, it appears as if Mr. Clark and the minister had a very amicable relationship. And I did not get involved in that at all. But I think that the deterioration started, as far as I am concerned, when we were building the Black Rock beach sport facility, and I noticed that there was heightened aggression and animosity from some of the public utterances that she began to make, and those things, to my mind, have deteriorated since. And there's been this high-handed approach where she throws her weight around and just thinks that she can do whatever she wants without any kind of correspondence or even conversation with the relevant divisions in Tobago, and that must not happen and will not happen under my tenure.
Mhm. Now, of course, earlier we spoke about the forming of that policy to better
Mhm.
manage the facilities and so on and so on. And of course,
Yes,
this is also to be able to manage how how it is taken care of financially and that sort of thing.
sure,
When can
sure,
we
sure,
see this
sure.
policy come into full effect?
Right. So we concluded the rounds of consultations about week maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks ago,
Hmm.
and the report is being compiled at present, and the report will be presented to the executive council. We shall ventilate it extensively and so on, and then in my mind I expect, because of the importance of this, and remember what we are trying to do ties into the Tobago that we are trying to build. We want to empower our communities, but at the same time, there must be rules that everybody follow. And you can appreciate that there are several of the village councils that have been engaging in some activities that were not convenient and so on. And we want to have some accountability. We want to have some shared responsibility between the division and between the village councils and so on, so that we can have a policy that is emblematic of best practice in the Tobago space. Right, so I expect, because I have been speaking with the officers and so on, and they have assured me that the report is perhaps almost complete. By the time I return, it should be complete, and we should be ready to take that to the executive council, and hopefully by the next month or so, we should be ready to roll out this particular program. We also need to say that we've been encouraging the various village councils to get themselves normalize and regularize, because a lot of them have not done their AGMs yet. When we came into office, Candace, there was some 38 thereabout village councils, and 99% of them were defunct. We did a revitalization project and so on, and we managed to get upwards of 28 to 30 of them working and so on. But the time has expired. And so we are asking and encouraging them to do their AGMs and so on, and then so that they can be in place for when we get ready to roll out the particular program.
So is there also going to be a policy as to how village councils should be constituted and the relationship with the village councils and the division, that sort of thing?
Sure. All those things. Well, remember, there is a constitutional reference for village councils and their operation. So we are guided by that, and we are also trying to crystallize a particular approach, a model that is unique to the Tobago situation, where there is mutual collaboration for the benefit of all.
No, and of course, one of the campaign promises by your administration was to have a certain budget for all communities and so on.
Sure,
Is this the
sure,
reason
sure.
why we've not really heard so much on that? Making
No,
sure
no.
that we had the village councils constituted and so on, to have a better conduit as to how that money is utilized
Right,
within the
right. Well,
communities.
right. So the both things are actually happening simultaneously as we speak, but it is important, and that is one of the reasons that we've been encouraging the village councils as well, because and we are also encouraging them that there is need for a healthy relationship between the village councils and their area representative, because the area representative will be like the conduit for the most part, um, to get this thing up and running, right? And so, yes, to your question, it is important that the village councils are regularized, and and as long as the village councils are legitimate, we are going to make sure that all are treated equally. Policy will cover all the districts in Tobago, and I believe that will be to the benefit of all.
And have you had any discussions with any of the village councils at all as to just this new direction and what's been the feedback from them?
Yeah, remember in the consultations that we are having, there are representations from the various village councils in those meetings. And so they have been voicing their opinions and so on. And we did make the commitment. And we were saying to them in the consultations that what we brought was a plan. We didn't think it was prudent to go to the council empty-handed. We came with a particular outline which we intended, to optimize based on the feedbacks that we were getting from the various council and the various individuals. And so that has been our approach, and that to me is what the consultations were all about. And so those thoughts and those pertinent matters that were raised by individuals in the various communities and representations from the various village councils who cared to come will have impact on the final product.
All right, great. Well, I want to thank you so much, Pastor Baynes, for being able to join us this morning and, of course, give us an update and some clarifications on these issues. And we are looking forward for your return and to hear what you've been able to accomplish out there with the Minister of Youth regarding the conference that you are attending.
Noted. Thank you very much, Kandace.
All right. Well, viewers, we got to go for a quick break, but we'll be back right after this.
The energy fill the skies.